The December wind cut through my coat as I climbed the stone steps to my parents' porch, arms aching under the weight of carefully wrapped packages. Each gift was chosen with purpose. An art book Dad had admired in a second-hand shop, a silk scarf Mom lingered over in October, a gaming headset for Caleb, and science kits for Alina and Jonah, my niece and nephew. 2 hours of traffic felt worth it for this moment, surprising them with thoughtfulness, proving that no matter how busy my career became, family still came first. The porch light flickered to life, flooding me with nostalgia. For a second, I was 10 again, racing up these same steps with snow in my hair, the smell of cinnamon rolls drifting from the kitchen. My chest tightened at the memory. This was home, or so I thought. The door opened, and instead of warmth, a wall. Mum, Vivian, stood squarely in the frame, her expression taut. She didn't step aside. "Riley," she said, voice stripped of welcome. "This might not be the best year for you to join us." I blinked, convinced I misheard. The shopping bag slipped in my hand. "What?" Behind her, Caleb emerged, arms crossed, his stance blocking the hallway like a guard. "This isn't the place for people who only show up when it's convenient," he said, each word heavy with accusation. My mouth went dry. Through the doorway, I glimpsed the dining table gleaming with the good china, the Christmas tree twinkling with ornaments I'd helped unpack every December since I could reach the branches. My stomach sank. "We spoke last week," I managed. "You confirmed my arrival time." Vivian's gaze dropped to the welcome mat. "Things change, sweetheart." Memory rushed in sharp as ice. 2 months earlier, Dad had panicked over a property tax bill, too high for their fixed income. I'd paid it in full, then spent hours on the phone correcting the county's assessment. I'd never hesitated. And now, I wasn't even allowed past the porch. Caleb stepped closer, eyes hard. "Must be nice, buying yourself a fancy condo while the rest of us struggle." The word struck like a slap. Images surged. The overtime I took last spring to cover Alina's hospital bills, the vacation I cancelled when Caleb called about another emergency. My breath steadied. I wasn't the selfish one. "Okay," I said softly. "Just that." I turned, gifts clutched tight, walking back to my car with measured steps. No stumbling, no tears for them to see. Behind me, Mum's voice wavered. "Riley?" I didn't turn. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Dad's silhouette appear, tall in the hallway. He didn't call out, didn't step forward. He just watched, his eyes skittering away when mine met his. I loaded the packages carefully into my trunk. The art book, the scarf, the headset, the toys. Hope wrapped in paper, now meaningless. Their empty hands had taken more from me than these gifts ever could. Sliding into the driver's seat, I started the engine. The Christmas lights of my childhood home shrank in the rearview mirror, glittering like false promises. But 5 minutes later, my hands still gripping the wheel, I couldn't drive on. My heart pounded with clarity. This wasn't about one ruined Christmas. This was about years of being the emergency fund, the fixer, the useful child. My phone lit the car interior as I pulled up the spreadsheet I kept for tax purposes. The numbers glared back. Mortgage payments for Caleb, piano lessons, summer camps, dental bills. $35,000 in 7 years. 35,000 excuses. And suddenly, I knew I couldn't leave it there. Not with them sitting inside, carving turkey with their good china, while I froze in the car like an outcast. Not when I'd given so much. I shut off the engine, the night air biting as I stepped back onto the gravel. This time, I didn't knock. The front door creaked as I pushed it open, the hinges groaning in protest. Inside, the warmth hit me immediately, the smell of roasted turkey, cranberry sauce, and mulled wine. It should have been comforting, but instead it churned my stomach. 3 heads snapped toward me. Caleb on the couch with his feet kicked up on the coffee table, Vivian and Dad hovering near the kitchen doorway with glasses of wine poised like props in a play. "No lock on the door for the uninvited?" I said, my voice steadier than my shaking hands. Vivian's hand fluttered to her throat. "Riley, honey, we thought you'd gone home." "Why would you think that?" I asked, stepping deeper into the room. "Because you told me to leave?" "Don't be dramatic," Caleb muttered, barely lifting his eyes from his phone. "Nobody told you to leave." The kitchen gleamed with the china I'd helped unpack each Christmas, the table set for 6. I imagined them sitting down minutes after I left, carving the turkey as though my absence was nothing but an empty chair. Vivian set her wine glass down with a clink. "Someone with your fancy job doesn't need family like we do. You've got your condo and your city friends." "You've been slacking this year," Caleb added, finally looking up. We all noticed. From the corner of my eye, I saw Marina, his wife, perched stiffly on the far end of the sofa, eyes fixed on her lap. Unlike the others, she couldn't quite meet my gaze. That detail lodged like a splinter in my mind. Dad cleared his throat. "Families help each other. Always been that way." His tone was low, rehearsed, as though the phrase was more mantra than truth. My pulse slowed. The subtext was so heavy it pressed on my chest. Families help each other financially. That was the only kind of help that counted here. I took a step closer. "So, because I bought myself a place to live, after years of helping all of you, I'm no longer family." "Nobody's saying that," Vivian rushed out. "You literally said it on the porch 30 minutes ago," I shot back. Caleb placed his phone down with deliberate care, like a predator coiling. "Look, we're just concerned about Mom and Dad. With property taxes climbing, they could lose the house if things keep up." Vivian flinched but said nothing. Robert's eyes stayed fixed on the carpet. The implication landed like a hook in my chest. It wasn't about Christmas. It never was. It was about control, about keeping me tethered through guilt and obligation. "That's not what I meant," Vivian stammered, but the conviction was gone from her voice. Caleb leaned forward, his tone shifting to faux concern. "They're not getting younger. It would be a shame if they had to face their golden years alone." My skin went cold. I glanced around the room at the family photos. Me smiling in every frame, eager, obliging, the dutiful daughter. The human ATM. Vivian stepped closer, her hand reaching for mine. "We just miss how things used to be when you were more involved." "Involved with my wallet, you mean?" The words slipped sharper than intended, but I didn't take them back. "That's unfair," Dad muttered weakly. "Is it?" I locked eyes with Caleb. "When was the last time you called me without needing something?" His silence was answer enough. I turned to Vivian. "When was the last time you invited me here, just to spend time together, not to fix bills or paperwork?" Her lips parted, then closed. She looked away. "I see." My voice no longer shook. "So I'm family when you need something, but not family enough for Christmas dinner?" "You're twisting everything," Caleb snapped, standing at last. His voice sharpened. "After everything we've done for you." I let out a short, bitter laugh. "What exactly have you done for me?" The silence that followed was heavier than the air in the room. I straightened my shoulders, inhaling deeply. "If I'm not family enough to be welcomed, then I'm not family enough to pay your bills." The words dropped like a hammer. Vivian's face crumpled, Dad stared at the floor, and Caleb's eyes narrowed, a dangerous glint flashing in them. I turned toward the door, my steps measured. For a fleeting second, I wondered if I was severing the last tie to the only family I had. But then another thought rooted itself with terrifying clarity. Maybe that's exactly what I needed to do. Christmas morning arrived like an unwelcome guest. Silent, heavy, suffocating. Sunlight spilled through the curtains of my condo. a space that suddenly felt cavernous, mocking me with its stillness. The tree in the corner blinked dutifully, ornaments catching the light, but the wrapped packages underneath had no destination. Every bow I'd tied with care was now just ribbon on boxes with nowhere to go. My phone buzzed relentlessly on the kitchen counter. 12 unread messages. I scrolled through them, each one cutting deeper. From Aunt Lila. "Riley, family is everything. Why are you punishing your parents this way?" From my cousin. "Damon said you abandoned Christmas because money matters more to you now. Is that true?" A group text from the family chain Caleb had created, deliberately excluding me until now. So sad Riley chose her condo over tradition. The narrative had already been written. I was the villain. I set the phone face down, jaw clenched. My gaze fell to the gifts I'd lined on the counter after unpacking them from the trunk. An antique fishing lure in a velvet box for Dad, a hand-painted ornament for Mom, a gaming headset for Caleb, books, puzzles, and clothes for Alina and Jonah. Proof that I'd thought of them all year long. And yet, they claimed I'd been distant, self-centered, uninvolved. I opened my laptop, the familiar hum filling the silence. My spreadsheet glowed on the screen. Columns of dates, amounts, and purposes stretched down the page. Mortgage payments when Caleb was between jobs, summer camps for the kids, emergency dental work, piano lessons at $75 a week. The total at the bottom glared, $35,472 over 7 years. My throat tightened. Every figure was a memory of sacrifice. Extra hours at work. Vacations cancelled, rent paid late on my own tiny apartment so they could have stability. And still, it was never enough. The phone rang, startling me. The caller ID flashed. First, Harbour Bank. I hesitated, then answered. "Miss Sloane," a clipped professional voice said, "we wanted to alert you that someone attempted to access your accounts yesterday, claiming to be an authorized family member. We denied the attempt, of course, but wanted to confirm whether you'd granted permission to anyone recently." My stomach dropped. "No, absolutely not. Who was it?" "I can't disclose that," the rep said carefully, "but I suggest updating your security settings immediately." After the call ended, my hands trembled. I didn't need confirmation. I already knew. Caleb. Who else would feel entitled enough to treat my accounts like his own piggy bank? A sharp knock jolted me from thought. I froze. Another knock, harder this time, followed by pounding. My heart raced as I crept to the door and peered through the peephole. Caleb's face filled the distorted circle, red with fury. Against every instinct, I opened the door just a crack. He shoved it wider and stormed inside, his voice echoing through my condo. "What the hell do you think you're doing? Turning everyone against me?" I folded my arms, willing my voice to remain calm. "It's 7:30 in the morning, Caleb. I was sleeping." "Don't play innocent." His hands clenched into fists. Mum's worried sick. Marina's acting weird, and now Dad's asking questions about money. You've poisoned them. I met his glare evenly. How exactly am I poisoning anyone by sitting here alone in my condo? His nostrils flared. After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us, by abandoning family. Something clicked inside me, a quiet lock releasing. Done for me? My voice sharpened. Name one thing you've ever done for me. He faltered. His mouth opened, then shut. I can name hundreds of things I've done for you. I pressed on, stepping closer. Thousands of dollars, countless hours, vacations cancelled, nights spent fixing your emergencies, and all you see is a wallet you can drain. You think you're so perfect, he spat. No, I said evenly, surprising myself with the calm in my tone. But I know this. You should leave, now, and don't come back. For the first time, he looked shaken. "You'll regret this," he warned, his voice cracking under the weight of his own desperation. "When Mom and Dad need help, don't expect me to pick up your slack." I opened the door wide, gesturing. "Goodbye, Caleb." He stormed out, muttering curses. A moment later, a soft knock came. My neighbour Eli stood in the hallway. "Everything okay?" I heard shouting. My shoulders sagged with relief. "It was my brother. He's been crossing lines." Eli nodded, sympathy in his eyes. "I've got some spare wireless cameras. Let me help you set one up this afternoon, just in case." For the first time in days, my chest loosened. Not everyone took without giving. Some people offered kindness freely. That evening, my phone buzzed again, a text from an unfamiliar number. I opened it cautiously. "I'm sorry for what happened. I didn't agree with it. The kids miss you. Marina." Tears blurred my vision as I typed back, "I miss them too. This isn't about them." Her reply came quickly. "I know. It never was." Hemlock Coffee was half empty when I arrived, the kind of quiet cafe tucked between a used bookstore and a florist where no one paid attention to strangers. I chose a table in the back, the leather portfolio on my lap heavy as an anchor. Inside were years of receipts and spreadsheets, every dollar I'd funneled into Caleb's emergencies, every sacrifice made invisible by his entitlement. A man in his 50s approached, suit rumpled from long hours, eyes sharp but kind. He extended his hand. "Riley Sloane? I'm Jared Kim. Marina asked me to meet with you." I slid the portfolio across the table before he even sat down. Every payment I've made to them. Mortgage, assistance, medical bills, camps, lessons, dates, amounts, purposes. 11,437 in the past 14 months alone. He opened it, his brows rising as he skimmed. "This is meticulous." "I'm a designer," I said, wrapping both hands around my coffee cup for warmth. "Details matter." Jared exhaled. "Then you'll want to see this." He laid a folder beside mine, its contents like a blade waiting to cut. Bank statements, Caleb's name in bold, deposit after deposit labelled with my transfers. "Marina found them when searching for tax documents," Jared explained. "She had no idea until now." My eyes blurred as I traced the columns. Mortgage payments did go through, but other emergencies? A so-called root canal lined up with a weekend of hotel charges. Summer camp tuition split in half, one part to the camp, the other to online gambling. The money I sent for Alina's recital dress diverted to Louis Vuitton. "He lied," I whispered, the cafe spinning slightly. "Not just used me, lied about everything?" Jared leaned forward. "This is a textbook pattern of financial coercion. He manipulates everyone with fear. Fear your parents might lose the house. Fear the children will suffer without your help. It's triangulation. He controls the family by making you the bank." The words hit harder because they fit too perfectly. For years, I'd excused his crises as bad luck. Now I saw them for what they were, calculations. "Marina is filing for legal separation," Jared continued. "Her priority is protecting herself and the kids. She's already secured temporary accounts he cannot touch. She asked me to share this with you because, well, you deserve to know where your generosity went." A lump formed in my throat. Marina had always been quiet, hesitant, almost apologetic at family gatherings. Now I saw it wasn't shyness. It was survival. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed on the table. A call from First Harbour Bank. My stomach sank. "Ms. Sloane," the rep said briskly when I answered. "We need to confirm you haven't recently authorised anyone to access your accounts." "No," I said quickly. "Why?" "An individual named Caleb Sloane attempted again this morning. We've flagged it as fraud and added notations to his profile. You may wish to consider filing a formal complaint." I thanked her, my voice steadier than I felt, then ended the call. Jared had been watching my face closely. Another attempt, he guessed. I nodded. He's not just rejecting me. He's actively trying to steal from me now. Jared's expression hardened. If you file, the bank's investigation will create a permanent record. It could trigger civil consequences, even criminal exposure, depending on what comes next. I stared at the papers spread across the table, my careful records mingling with evidence of Caleb's deception. For the first time, I felt something stronger than grief. Rage, not the fiery kind that burns out quickly, but the cold, steady sort that sharpens into clarity. I'll file, I said, my voice low, and I'll restructure everything. If my parents need help, I'll pay vendors directly. And for the kids, I tapped my spreadsheet, I'll set up education trusts. He'll never touch a dime again. Jared nodded, satisfaction flickering in his eyes. That's the right call. And Riley... He hesitated, choosing his words carefully. Vivian and Robert received a hardship letter recently. Marina swears it's Caleb's wording. If you see it, keep a copy. It could be important. A chill slid down my spine. Of course he would drag them into his web. Of course he'd use their fears of aging, of losing their home, as leverage to tighten his grip on me. I closed my portfolio with a decisive snap. Then I'll be ready for him. It was exactly 6 o'clock when the knock came. Too precise to be casual. Through the peephole I saw them. Vivian clutching a casserole dish, Robert juggling a gift bag, and Caleb standing empty-handed, hands shoved deep into his coat pockets. My chest tightened. I almost didn't open the door. Almost. But curiosity, dangerous, irresistible, won. Surprise, Vivian said brightly as I cracked the door. Her smile stretched too wide. We brought dinner. Robert added solemnly. Family should stick together through thick and thin. That's what your grandfather always said. I stepped aside wordlessly, watching as they entered like actors taking their marks. Vivian swept toward the kitchen without asking, opening cabinets as if she still lived here. Robert claimed my reading chair, setting the gift bag carefully at his feet. Caleb prowled the perimeter of the living room, eyes flicking over every detail, the framed prints, the new rug, the dual monitors on my desk, assessing, calculating. We miss you, sweetheart, Vivian called from the kitchen. The family hasn't been the same without you. Robert nodded gravely. We depend on each other. Always have. I folded my arms, leaning against the wall. What's this really about? Caleb stopped pacing and faced me. His voice softened to something almost humble. I lost my job last week, downsizing. I just need a little help getting through this rough patch. There it was. The ask. It's temporary, Vivian rushed in, her voice sugary, just until he's back on his feet. And Marina isn't helping matters, Robert muttered, shaking his head. Caleb's face darkened, his tone quickening. She's been acting crazy, saying things that aren't true, making up stories about money. You know how she gets, dramatic, unstable. The way he spoke about his wife, the mother of his children, lit a flame in my chest. I turned without a word and walked to my desk. They froze, expecting me to pull out a checkbook. Instead, I laid a thick leather portfolio on the coffee table and opened it with deliberate care. I've been expecting this visit, I said calmly, so I prepared something for you. I spread out a series of colour-coded sheets, rows of names, dates, amounts, purposes. $35,472. That's how much I've given this family in the past 3 years. Their faces remained blank, as if the numbers were written in another language. I added a second stack. Bank statements Marina had given Jared. Hotel charges in Portland on the same weekends Caleb claimed to be on business in Seattle. Designer purchases aligned with my emergency transfers. Gambling site withdrawals days after I wired camp tuition. Robert's eyes dropped to his shoes. Vivian gripped the edge of her cardigan. Caleb's face flushed, crimson climbing his neck. "Where's Marina?" he snapped, voice rising. "What have you been telling her?" "I told her the truth," I replied evenly. "And I helped her, and the kids start over in another state. They're safe. You can't touch them." Vivian gasped. Robert's head jerked up, shock breaking his composure. Caleb lunged toward me, but I didn't flinch. "I have also established education funds for Alina and Jonah," I continued. "Money that goes directly to their schooling. Not through you. And I'll continue paying Mom and Dad's property taxes. Directly. Beyond that, the bank investigation will handle the rest." Caleb's eyes widened. "You can't do this. I'll pay it back, all of it. Just help one more time." His voice cracked, rage bleeding into desperation. "How can you do this? To your brother," Vivian cried. "To your family." The words landed like ash on my skin. I straightened, my voice colder than I knew it could be. "The real question is, how could you all do this to me? For years, I've been your ATM, not your daughter." Their silence confirmed everything. I walked to the door and pulled it open. "Our Christmas tradition of me not being welcome, it works both ways now." Vivian started toward me, but Robert caught her elbow. Caleb lingered, rooted, his face flickering between fury and panic. Before he could speak, I reached behind the entry table and withdrew a small wrapped package. I pressed it into his hands. He tore the paper, confusion twisting his features as he revealed a framed photo of Alina and Jonah laughing on a playground. A note was taped to the glass in my handwriting. "They deserve better. Be better." His mouth opened, then closed. Words failed him. Robert guided him out into the hallway. Vivian followed, clutching the casserole dish like a shield. I shut the door behind them, the silence ringing louder than their voices ever had. For the first time, I didn't feel empty. I felt free. 3 months passed since that frigid December night, yet the memory of the porch, the rejection, the accusations, still lived in me like a scar. But scars don't always weaken you. Sometimes they harden into armor. My condo no longer felt like a halfway house between obligations. I transformed the second bedroom into a proper office, dual monitors glowing on a new desk, shelves lined with design books and student projects. Freshly printed business cards read, "Riley Sloane Design Studio." My work calendar now pulsed with colour-coded blocks, green for client projects, blue for personal time, yellow for volunteer work at the youth centre. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I taught teenagers the basics of digital design. Their thank you notes covered my bulletin board. Scraps of paper scrawled with gratitude. "Thanks for showing me I could turn art into a job. You made me believe I'm talented." I realised generosity doesn't have to mean sacrifice. It can mean teaching someone to build their own future. The first test of my new boundaries came on a Wednesday evening. Vivian's voice wavered through the phone. "Riley, thank God you answered. The upstairs bathroom pipe burst. Water everywhere. Your father tried to fix it, but it's worse now." The familiar dance tried to rise. Panic, guilt, instinct to fix. But I held my ground. "That sounds stressful, Mom. I'll call a licensed plumber near you and pay them directly." A pause stretched taut and disbelieving. "Wouldn't it be easier to just send the money?" "No," I said gently but firmly. "This way works better for me." Her sigh crackled through the line. "I suppose that would be fine." When we hung up, there was no knot in my stomach, no sense of being pulled under, just relief. Friday evening, I hosted a small dinner. Nora arrived first with a bottle of red wine, followed by Eli from next door and 2 women from the youth centre. Conversation flowed easily, laughter bubbling without fear of judgment or hidden debts. At one point, Nora raised her glass. "To found family," she said, "the ones who choose to be in your life and love you without conditions." We clinked glasses. and I felt the truth of her words settle deep in my bones. For years, I'd bent myself into shapes to fit a family that only measured me in dollars. Now, I was standing upright. Later, I confirmed my summer trip to visit Marina and the kids. The education trusts were finalised, locked accounts Caleb couldn't touch. During our monthly video calls, Alina proudly showed me her science fair projects, while Jonah sang songs from kindergarten. Their voices carried a lightness I hadn't noticed before, the absence of Caleb's shadow obvious even through a screen. One evening, I opened the spreadsheet I'd maintained for years. Family, financial support. Row after row of dates and transfers filled the screen, ghosts of obligations passed. My cursor hovered, then I renamed the file, Lessons Learned. I packed the unused Christmas gifts into a box. Dad's fishing lure, Mum's ornament, Caleb's headset, saving only those meant for Alina and Jonah. They would get them this summer, and nothing would stop me from seeing their smiles. As I taped the box shut, I wondered, is there ever value in leaving the door cracked open for people who've proven their love comes with strings? Or is that just self-destruction disguised as hope? I didn't know yet. But what I did know, finally, fiercely, was this. I was no longer their lifeline. My worth was no longer measured in invoices or checks. And that realization was the greatest gift I'd ever given myself.